Hey, everybody, it's Miranda Dennis, licensed clinical social worker and owner of Oasis Clinical Counseling Services, back with another highly requested video. A lot of times as a therapist, we have a certain mindset about therapy, and you as a potential client or a current client, you also have your own set of ideas and beliefs and mindset about what therapy should look like, how long it should last, and what should be accomplished. The problem that I think happens all too often is you as the client may not feel empowered enough to express, this is what I need from therapy. This is why I'm coming. This is what I would like you to help me with. And instead, you come to us because we are the experts of our field, and those that have done the work, clinical work, have actually gone to school, did all the thousands of hours required, passed all the tests that we need to pass to prove that we have the clinical knowledge to assist you and partner with you in your journey of wellness. The problem, I think, is because we have this title, so it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? So because we have the title of therapist, you deem us as the expert for your personal life. So that's, I think, one of the problems that makes it difficult to determine, how do I know I'm doing well? How do I know when it's time to exit the therapy road? So let me just say, first of all and foremost, there is no set time limit with how long you should be in therapy. Let me say that again. There is no set time frame of how long you should be in therapy. Why did I say should? As a DBT therapist, I know that shoulds are judgments, and judgments keep us stuck. What I would rather you to challenge yourself with, your current therapist with, is, are the things that we are addressing in therapy, are they aligning with where I currently am and where I want to be? So on one hand, that is my one belief. On the other hand, because I'm a dialectical therapist, we got to look at both sides. Termination begins on day one. So how can I say termination begins on day one on one instance, and then in the other instance, I say there's no set time? That seems like a walking contradiction. It's really not. It's really not. The way that I work as a therapist and the way that I train therapists underneath me is to, obviously, we start where the client is. However, we as the therapist start with the end in mind. So when you come to us, some of my first questions are, what has happened in the last 2 to 3 weeks that has made you say, hey, I need to get some extra support on that? You tell me what that is. And then often people will tell me all the terrible things that have gone wrong. We'll go over their family history, all these things. And then I get to the question of, okay, let's see. Let's just chunk things down. Let's just look at a small time of space from 3 to 6 months. Let's just start with 3 months. In the next 3 months, what do you want to be able to say that I came to therapy, and as a result of coming to therapy, I am now able to do this, not do this, stand up for myself, say no when I need to say no, be able to look myself in the mirror, whatever it is that you want to get as a result of coming to therapy. We start with the end in mind. So if you are able to articulate and be behaviorally specific about the things that you would like to achieve in therapy, that assists your therapist in teaching the skills that you need, which moves you along to termination. So when I say termination starts at the beginning, that's exactly what I mean. You come in the door, we're here to support you, and we're here to clarify the vision of how you see yourself operating in the next 3-6 months. That doesn't mean that you're going to be done with therapy in the next 3 to 6 months by any means, not at all. What that means is, okay, I am not where I used to be, and I'm moving along to the person I want to be, and I'm able to understand the skills that have been taught to me and apply them to my life. Most people have two extreme thought patterns when we talk about termination. The first one is, I'm never going to be in therapy forever. Like, there's no need for that. And saying that with a negative connotation, as if people that are in therapy longer than a year, that there's something internally wrong with them. Talk about that in a minute. The other extreme is, you're my therapist. I'm never going to do life without you. Neither is a healthy perspective. To me, the healthiest perspective is allowing my staff, allowing your therapist to come along, partner with you for as long as you need it. Also, you have to be willing to be challenged and sometimes pushed to get out of your comfort zone and not think and do things as you normally have been doing. You will stay stuck. You won't move forward. If you want to know, you've been in therapy for a year and you're feeling like, I'm not getting any better. It should be time for me to terminate, shouldn't it? So there's some factors that you need to consider. Have you had any major life events? Did you get a divorce? Did you get married? Did you move? Did you have a child? Did you change careers? Did you start school? Did a family member pass away? Did something major, just like with your health insurance, right? The only time you can change your health insurance is if you have a qualifying life event. So when you have a qualifying life event, something that's outside of you that swerves into your lane, sometimes it may derail you from the progress that you've made in therapy. Doesn't mean that you haven't made progress. It means, geez, this new change of life thing happened, and I'm going to need a little bit more support than I originally thought. Or you've accomplished the goals that you came into therapy, and you're still feeling like, okay, great. Now that I've accomplished this underlying trauma that I didn't even know that was there, I've uncovered it. I've learned to identify when it's coming up, and I have the skills to deal with it. Well, guess what? Now it's test time, baby. So the next time life happens, you might be able to identify it. You might say, all right, I know the skills. I know what I'm supposed to do. And then the moment comes and you're like, what am I supposed to do? I forgot. Sometimes you need the test, the hardship to occur so that you really, truly know that you have solidified the skills that you've been taught in therapy. Some people feel like, oh, I'm good, and they drop off, and they've never had a test. So they don't know if they have the skills really solidified or not. In their mind, it's like, I know I can do this. But when that moment comes, they struggle. When you remain in therapy during that time, during the changes of life, the stages of life, during the hardships, during the test time, then we strengthen the skills. We partner with you just like we've been and remind you, remember when you did this, remember when you said this, remember when you learned this. Now let's implement it. So now it moves from dealing with the underlying things and moves you towards the practical use of the skills. So when I say that there's no time limit, there is not really a time limit. There just isn't. What there is, though, is if you started out in therapy and you're coming twice a week, and 5 years later, you're still in therapy going twice a week, that is a red flag. That's just a red flag. Either your therapist is not a good fit for you, or you need a higher level of care, or you need to do a little more self-reflection, hold yourself a little bit more accountable, and actually use skills. At that point, it would be probably in your best interest to seek support in other ways. I'm just going to be honest. However, if you've been in therapy 6, 7, 8 years, and you have gotten to the point where you were coming twice a week, and now you come every 4 weeks, every 5 weeks, because you need a space to check in. A life event has happened. You want extra support. You need a safe space where you can bounce ideas off, then stay in therapy. Then stay in therapy. As long as it is effective for you. At the same time, therapy is not forever. So if you've been in therapy 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, and you're still stuck and you still don't have confidence in your voice, you still don't have confidence in the decisions that you make, then I say to you, it's time for some self-reflection. It's time to check in. Am I with the right therapist? It's time to do another internal search of, am I holding on to myths that I thought I let go? Am I acting out of fear and need some help to work through the fear of termination? All of those things are plausible. Something that I do remind my clients, while therapy is not forever, we are here to support you for as long as you need it. When we get to a space, because a lot of times, as a therapist, I recognize when my client is ready for termination before they are ready to terminate. And sometimes that causes conflict. And then sometimes I have clients on the other end of the spectrum. They're like, yeah, I don't think I need this anymore. And I'm like, yeah, yes, you do. And so there's kind of like this partnership. We work together to determine what termination looks like for you. But it always starts at the very beginning. Where are we going? What do you want to do differently? What do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of? So that we have a goal in mind. The other thing I want to say is when you are moving towards termination and you get to the place where maybe you're coming once a month, once every 6 weeks, and your therapist says, or you say to your therapist, like, I think I got it. I think I'm good. Make a plan for termination. Don't just stop coming. Don't just stop responding to emails, phone calls. Don't just stop not making any new appointments. Have a conversation with your therapist and say, like, hey, I feel like I'm in a better space. I think I can do it on my own. I would like to try it on my own. If something comes up in the next 2, 3, 6 months, can I call you back? If you have done proper termination and you have a good relationship with your therapist, a lot of times the answer will be yes. Why? Because you may just need like a booster, right? You may just need a few sessions, a few months, a few reminders. Life has happened. You've tried the skills on your own, and you might just need to come back for 3, 6 months just to remind yourself, oh yeah, I forgot about that skill. Oftentimes when people do come back to therapy, it is because they have stopped doing the things that were effective and work for them. So a lot of my time is remember this skill is calling to remembrance in the forefront of your mind what you've accomplished, what skill can fit where. So it's not as intense as the beginning, unless you've waited years and years and years and years, and you're down in the pits, and then you're starting from scratch. But when you have enough self-awareness to say, I've tried it on my own, and I'm doing pretty good, and I have some foresight to see that, I'm picking back up on some old trauma responses, and I want to make sure that I handle it in the best way possible, then call your therapist, go back. I know for our clients that we've discharged, we ask them and we let them stay on our mailing list. So if there's a workshop that comes up that makes sense for them to take, they're more than welcome to take the workshop. For example, boundaries are our authentic women's happiness groups. We've had people that have discharged a year or 2 ago, and they want to come back for the 6-week series. We're not going to tell them, no, you've already had therapy. No, we're going to say, good for you that you recognize that there might be some skills that you want to just fine tune just a little bit, and you come back. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but what I will say is therapy is not forever, and therapy does not have a time limit. It is a conversation that you have together in conjunction with your therapist based on why you came into therapy and the behaviorally specific things that you would like to do differently than at the end than the beginning, balanced with the life events that have happened. So sometimes you may be working on self-esteem, and then something major happens, like you lose your job. Then your shift has to focus onto something totally different. Anxiety may be showing up in a way that it had not shown up before because you had financial security. So you may have to take a pause on the self-esteem stuff to deal with getting stable financially and the stress of the anxiety that has popped up for you that maybe was never a concern. So you would deal with that. And then we make that a goal and we look at the behaviors you want to change and work on that. And then we go back to the original thing. But it is a back and forth. It is a fluid conversation. It is an open conversation. You and your therapist partner together. It's not just us as the experts. Like, you are the expert of your life. We may have some clinical knowledge. We may have some biblical skills that we want to share with you and show you how to use, but you ultimately get to determine when you start therapy and when you terminate. So if you have other questions, pop them down in the chat. I'm more than willing to respond to them. If you have questions or other videos you would like to see as it relates to therapy sessions, let me know. I'll try to do a video for you. All right, have a great day.